Dr. King once stated, "We've got some difficult days ahead." He told this to an overflowing crowd in Memphis, Tennessee on April 3rd, 1968. The city's sanitation workers were striking. Economic justice was the theme. Dr. King went on to state in this speech that to some is the greatest speech ever. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. Less than 24 hours after these prophetic words, Dr. King was assassinated. During this speech, Dr. King called for unity. He called for stronger economic actions, boycotts, nonviolent protests, all while challenging this country to do exactly what they put on paper. Dr. King ended this speech by discussing the possibility of an untimely death. See, at the NAACP, we've been in some hard-charging fights. Dark roads and dark highways have been the norm for several years. Death riddles my phone. I have more autopsy pics and coroner reports and case files on my phone than I do photos. My recents would drive most insane. Being around so much death can often make you question things. Every dead boy or dead young lady, whether it be from a uniform bullet, a lace pill, a street beef, when a family calls you, you take on their pain. For some, you perform miracles. But for most, you fail. No matter how hard you try, it just ain't there. There comes a point in every case, no matter what you've done, that you can do no more. And you have to be the person that everybody's mad at. You got to be the person the system mad at because you just had to fight a fight with them that brought out some things that they maybe didn't want brought out, right? You got to fight with some business owners because you could have disrupted some of their business with your activities. You got to put up with the lackey that thinks racism is dead. You got to be okay with the family that you were helping being mad with you as well because you're the only person they could be mad at. You got to be okay with that. See, what Dr. King was expressing was a conclusion. He was talking about doors he had opened to tables he would never sit. He was talking about the mountaintop. So you get to see what we could be if you just held the line once you get to the mountaintop. Once you peek over a little bit. In just one victory, when you get up there and you look over, you see what we as a people could have if we just held the line. See, the NAACP, we got to that mountaintop and we looked over and we did it without a budget, so we can attest to it being possible. See, Dr. King was looking death in the face during this speech. He knew a conclusion was coming. I don't know if he knew that death was coming in a figurative sense, but he knew a conclusion was coming that he would never see the total fruits of his work. He understood that. He knew that he would never get to the promised land. So when you think about life's conclusions, it becomes less about what you did and more about what you tried. It becomes about new things. We know you're a millionaire, but how many more millionaires can you build? That difficult employee at your job, that might be your test. You might not be a good enough leader to bring the best out of them. The problems in your kids might be your fault. Take it up and do better. See, my daughter, who is sitting here in this church today, hearing me speak on civil rights issues for the first time live in all of her 11 years. And the reason she's sitting here is because she started to study my work, read the articles, look at the videos and stuff like that. And she often sends me videos criticizing my work. See, God knew I wasn't going to listen to nobody else, so he sent Malia. And let me tell you something. If you ever want to know the truth about something you're doing, ask a kid, right? See, my daughter helped me. She helped me peek over. She helped me to understand what Dr. King was trying to tell us. Prepare and build, but you possibly won't sit there. Your role might only be to prepare the person that will. In all honesty, it might not be because you ain't good enough. It might not just be because of you. You may not be what's needed. People may just not understand anything you say. Dr. King had an unfavorable approval rating for most of his career, meaning that most folks in the moment didn't like him. Most of us here today would have shied away from taking pics with him. Most of us in the moment would have been worried about our brand being too connected to Dr. King in the moment, right? But we gather here on this Monday morning with smiles and nice suits, celebrating his life. But most of us in the moment wouldn't have invited him in our pulpits. Stop me when I'm lying. But even through all of that, most of our dislike and most of our disdain, he still decided that he was going to go to the mountaintop for us, right? He still decided that he was going to fight a fight to build tables in rooms that he could never sit. He knew he had raised too much heck himself to sit in those rooms, so he's got to build some other folks to sit in there. He understood that. In conclusion, I leave you with his words. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that we as a people will get to the promised land.